Good afternoon, everyone. For some, it's still morning. For some, later afternoon. Welcome to the next session of the last day of the INATBA Digital Blockchain Week. I'm very happy to be here with our next speaker. Before that, I just want to say a few house rules. As always, please stay muted when our speaker is talking, but please feel free to ask questions in the chat function. We have roughly half an hour for this session, so we will do our best to answer some of the questions at the end of the session. Without any further ado, I want to give the floor now to Mr. David Arroyo Guardeño, who is a member of the INATBA Academic Advisory Board, and he will give us a presentation and keynote on the topic of quantum readiness, so how the blockchain ecosystem is prepared for the next big thing. David, can I please give the floor to you and welcome. We're very happy to have you here.
Okay. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share part of our work in this very field of the quantum transition in the ecosystem of DLTs. And yeah, I'm going to try to summarize the main outlines of the most relevant challenges we have to face when dealing with this sort of transition from pre-quantic cryptography to post-quantum primitives. And
David, sorry, just to interject, right now we can see 3 slides on the screen. So we cannot see just one slide. Can you maybe stop sharing and start by sharing again?
It was okay. Maybe I was sharing another screen. Let me.
No worries. It's just we want to actually be able to read. It was very small on the.
Now?
Perfect. That works. Thank you so much.
Okay. So the what I'm going to describe is very connected to the ongoing project we have in our research group. I am the principal investigator of the research group in cybersecurity and privacy protection in the Spanish National Research Council. And we have been dealing along these last years with the implementation of open hardware solutions for dealing with security protocols and security solutions. And now we are also dealing with the concrete quantum transition from the legacy system to new paradigms and systems. And also we are working in the context of the QCDI project. We are working in the implementation of digital twins and how to protect data extraction in order to properly store all this information inside data lakes without any kind of problem as a result of information intercepted in public channels. And we have just started another project from September that is going to be focused in cyber threat intelligence, and they are again all the matters related to DLTs, distributed ledger technologies, and cryptographic means are of major relevance because we need to develop proper trust data sharing schemes. So what I'm going to underline is more or less part of the work we have been doing in those projects, and some of the challenges we want to properly face. The main problems that are associated to quantum computing are the result of 2 major contributions. One from Shor, written in 1997. This is the called Shor algorithm that proves that in case you have the capability of conducting quantum computations, you can properly conduct the factorization of big numbers. If you are able to do so, it means that classic public cryptography is not secure. This is more or less the most relevant impact of this result. The other major result, for sure, there are plenty of more results, but we are not going to cover all these different contributions because we want just to underline the major problems. The other major work is the one by Grover. In this case, Grover shows that if you have the capability of conducting parallel computations by means of a quantum computer, you can conduct a brute force attack in a more feasible way. You can reduce the computational cost of conducting exhaustive search from cryptographic keys, password key, or any other piece of information that right now demands the use of very expensive computational means. We have been witnessing a lot of warnings about the implication of these two major results, but if we go into the details of the specific threats that we have to deal with in this very context right now, still public key cryptography can be considered secure, taking into account the current level of maturity of the different quantum computing approaches. Still, we are in the very beginning of the deployment of this menace, but we need to be prepared in case that some countries, some states, some company has the capability of achieving the proper implementation or stable quantum computers. And in this regard is very interesting. For example, this contribution by Thorsten Hafle. In this paper, the authors, they analyze the concrete and real and actual implications of the current state of quantum computers, and they establish that although there is a lot of activity and a lot of attention around the concept of quantum computing, still we are in the infancy of the proper implementation and the proper capability of leveraging this new technology. And we have to be very careful when we want to use a very complex approach, as it is a quantum computer, to problems that are not complex enough. There is no reason to use a quantum computer to solve operations that can be properly tackled, properly solved using either high performance computing or supercomputers. So in this paper, they underline, okay, these specific areas, they demand very powerful computation that cannot be addressed by means of supercomputers or high performance computing. In such cases is when you need to explore another computation paradigm, which is the case of quantum computing. So this is something that we tend to be victim of. When we discover a new technology, we want to apply this technology to everything. And every single piece of technology is adequate for a concrete problem and in a specific context. For example, regarding one of the possible implementation of quantum computing by simulated approaches using quantum annealing, for example, which is an approach in order to have something close to what could be a quantum computer. In that cases, we can apply this kind of new paradigm of computation, this new computation paradigm, to solve something that is also a very complex problem, which is the case of configuring a virtual network in order to determine what is the most efficient and effective way of routing the traffic. This is a non-polynomial problem from a general point of view, and it is required to have a high computational power in order to solve this matter in an efficient way. This paper is addressing this matter without having a quantum computer, but achieving a solution that is better than the ones obtained from conventional computational paradigms, let's say. There are plenty of different approaches to be considered when we want to have some new ways of parallelizing computation. It's not exactly in this vein, but somehow when we are conducting quantum computation, we are parallelizing operations, so we can superpose computation and to achieve results even in very complex scenarios. But the implementation of these quantum computations can be addressed from very different perspectives and technologies. We have superconducting loops, trapped ions, silicon quantum dots, topological qubits, and diamond vacancies, and plenty of different solutions, hybrid solution, even combining with a high performance computer or quantum processing units, something that, for example, now is pushed forward by NVIDIA and other companies. And here you have a short summary about the different approaches by IBM, where you can find the different companies and different solutions that are related to the different technologies. Also, we have to deal again, as I told you before, about what we want to do with the computer, with the quantum computer. This report by BSI is a very informative report, very useful, very helpful in order to properly address the level of maturity of, for example, quantum machine learning, quantum computation paradigms. What are the topics? What are the problems, the challenges that can be addressed by means of this new software paradigm based on quantum computation? And what is the specific level of certainty, the specific level of efficiency and accuracy when we use this kind of method? Still, they are not at the same level at conventional machine learning procedures. They are not efficient. They have still a level of error level that is not acceptable. So there is still a lot of work to be conducted. It's still a research area. We cannot say that we are going to tackle concrete and actual problems right now using quantum machine learning, because we don't have actual quantum computers. We only have simulated environments, and also the state of development of this new way of conducting machine learning is not mature enough. Still, there is still the need for more advanced proposal in this regard. But this also we need to take into account that quantum technologies are not only restricted to quantum computation, because we can leverage, as I underlined before, quantum technologies in order to conduct in a better way network communications. We can use quantum technologies to implement new communication channels, for example, using quantum communication for satellite communications or for the exchange of communication in control communication channels. And also we have the quantum sensing technologies in order to have better sensors based on quantum properties. So there are three different approaches based on quantum technologies that are targeted to different goals: computation, communication, or metrology. So this is something to be taken into account and be addressed in a proper and convenient way. The other angle that must be considered if we want to properly implement the transition into the post-quantum era is the normative and regulation framework. In the case of Europe, we have a very vast set of laws, regulation, normatives below the general scope of cybersecurity and privacy protection. For example, if we consider how data is properly treated and protected, we have the Data Governance Act, the Data Record Act, the European Health Data Space. In the case of digital services, we have the Digital Services Act and the Digital Markets Act. In the case of the cybersecurity strategy, the NIS2 Directive, DORA Directive, Cyber Resilience Act, and now the recently approved Act for Artificial Intelligence. All the different normative and regulations are very important in order, for example, to debunk disinformation critical in the proper implementation of media freedom regulations. There we need proper procedures in order to be sure that the information we are consuming is trustworthy. In this specific case, DLT and any procedure to properly validate data integrity is of major relevance. Also, we need to protect those insiders that are reporting illegal action from institutions of organization. That's something that is related to the Whistleblower Protection Directive. And also, we need to protect for sure the privacy of the citizens by means of the General Data Protection Regulation. In the end, we have another very recently approved normative, the one related to identity management, that is critical in the case of blockchain, because we need to accomplish somehow advanced procedure for accountability, and this demands identification and in some occasion even this demands authentication procedures and in some scenarios identification solutions. Actually, in the case of the last version of the eIDAS regulation, it contains a specific section. It was already before in the previous version, but in the section 11, there is a concrete part very related to how the ledger, the different electronic ledgers, could be included as part of the ecosystem of trusted services in the case of eIDAS. So this is something that is an ongoing debate, because there is not a certified ledger implementation, distributed ledger implementation, sorry. And this is a very intensive and very active discussion, something that is under a very intensive debate. Regarding the specific level of maturity of the technology, this is an insight from Mosca, from one of the most recent Mosca contributions. There you can see that the level of maturity in this very context, in the current moment, sorry, still the level of maturity of quantum computing is not adequate enough to be considered as a threat for public cryptography. Still, we have let's say a window or a protection window. We can still use the current public cryptography, but we need to start thinking about how we are transitioning to the implementation of different procedures to have a quantum safe ecosystem. So this is something that is very, very important. Actually, is the core of the one of the projects we are involved in, the Qubit project, where we are implementing different solutions and approaches. And also we are working on standardization and policy briefing in order to have a better characterization about the risk and the possibilities to conduct this transition into a quantum safe ecosystem. In regards to the different policy approaches, in Europe we have the cybersecurity strategy for the digital decade. There it is clear established that we need to improve end-to-end security in order to guarantee the privacy protection of our citizens and the confidentiality protection, confidentiality and privacy protection. The health of the digital single market is very dependent on that. We cannot have a healthy digital service, digital market without a proper protection of the communications. And for such a goal, we need to have into account what are the current security threats, but also new threats and new paradigms that could pose a problem for the confidentiality and privacy protection, as I told you before. So this combination of all different approaches demands the proper implementation of concrete solutions. This solution should be interoperable, otherwise it cannot be possible to have a communication between different parties. So interoperability and standardization here is a must. And in this very moment, this transition into interoperable quantum safe products is mainly conducted by the NIST initiative in regards to the definition of post-quantum cryptography. Right now, we have three different standards: the 203 and 204 and 205 FIPS standards. And now the world must be focused on how to properly implement these standards in a stable set of products, and also take into account how the legacy systems are not always prepared to integrate these new solutions. This is something that is very complicated. It's not easy to have feasible implementation and efficiency, specifically in the case of IoT and resource-constrained devices, which is something that is going to be critical for the proper implementation of edge computing and the new paradigms of communication, mainly those based on 5G and 6G, and Wi-Fi is 6 for sure. But this is going to be something very challenging. This is going to be part of the roadmap we have to deal with in order to have a proper quantum-safe ecosystem, let's say. This quantum-safe ecosystem can be implemented using post-quantum cryptography or quantum key distribution. In the case of quantum key distribution, we have a physical channel that is constructed using quantum properties, and that it cannot be tampered. So if we are able to establish this kind of communication channel, we can exchange a cryptographic key, a symmetric cryptographic key between two parties, and from that moment we can encrypt all the information, so we have a confidential channel. The problem is that the construction of this communication channel has a lot of security problems. It can be hacked, it can be broken by means of side channel attacks and other attacks that are based on the implementation of the communication channel. This is a problem, a classical problem with encryption systems. When you implement the system, you discover that you are able to estimate the cryptographic keys, for example, measuring the time you need to encrypt information, or measuring the information you are storing as temporal information during the execution of your encryption system. So in regards to this relationship between some efficiency metric and the cryptographic key, you can obtain an estimation of the cryptographic key. This is critical in the case of quantum key distribution. There is not a totally secure implementation, and that's the reason why all these different security organizations around the world, BSI, ANSI, Swedish NSCA, all of them, they have published a report underlining that right now it's not convenient to use a quantum key distribution as a way to construct quantum-safe communication channels. We need to go further. This necessary effort in the case of the European Commission is very related to the activity in the different European standard bodies, Sensenelet, EXI, and is very well summarized in the so-called Quantum Manifesto that was published in 2016. It is established by means also of the relationship of this manifesto with the digital decade strategy, how we can have an ecosystem where the level of protection against quantum computers could be considered as adequate. For such a goal, we need to develop new encryption systems, but also we need to have the capability of conducting quantum computation. That's the reason why, as part of the European Digital Decade Strategy, there is a concrete plan to have the first supercomputer with quantum acceleration in Europe. This is a concrete effort. And this concrete effort is very connected to the development at the European level of European hardware. If we want to have protection against those actors that are implementing very advanced technology, if finally the technology we are going to use in order to protect against this actor is the technology developed by these actors, we can have a problem, because we have a very complicated level of dependency. Actually, this is one of the major problems in Europe. We are technological dependent with respect to other third parties. So the European Chips Act is very focused on the deployment of concrete chips, European chips, and these European chips are very targeted at the development of high performance computing for Europe, and as a second stage, or combined with this stage, quantum computation centers in Europe. So this is a combined effort. We have the European Chips Act that is very focused on that regard. Okay, this is just another reference to the different legal and normative frameworks that are very connected to this matter. And artificial intelligence, for sure, is also very involved in the proper implementation of this new paradigm. We cannot think about new hardware without having in mind that this hardware is going to be mainly used by artificial intelligence applications. So this is going to be something that is going to be always very connected. Okay. Another very important concern that is going to be connected with general communication technologies, and specifically with blockchain, is the case of certification and product validation. So in regards to the NIS2 directive and the implementation of the Cyber Resilience Act, it is required to have a specific certification approach at the European level, which is very based on the well-known common criteria certification scheme, and it is required to have the legal and normative framework, but also the capabilities to conduct this kind of analysis. Okay. If we focus in the case of distributed ledger technology, the challenges we need to address mainly are based on how we replace public key cryptography by other means. Most of the distributed ledger technology we are using are very based on ACDSA, and most of them, a lot of them, they use a concrete implementation of elliptic curve cryptography, the SEC 2056 approach, the Koblitz curve, which has some security problems. And if we manage to have a quantum computer, and we have the capability of deriving from a public key the private key, if we manage to do so, what means that we have the capability of implementing the short algorithm. In that case, for example, we can get access to all the cryptographic keys in a wallet. If we can access to a wallet, then we can have access to all cryptocurrencies in that wallet. So in such a case, we can steal all the money from somebody. So it's a critical problem. Cryptocurrencies of any sort of digital asset. This is a very recent paper where it is considered how we can transition to an ecosystem for CBDC infrastructure, but having quantum safe protection, having quantum safe communication channels. In order to conduct this transition, we need to have solid trusted execution environment. This is a piece of software that guarantees that the cryptographic material, the material that is executed inside the trusted execution environment cannot be tampered. So, for example, we can use cryptographic keys without being stolen by a third party. We can use the already approved primitive by NIST. For example, we can use 3 quantum-resistant digital signatures as the Lithium, Falcon, and Sphinx. We can combine these procedures in order to have compatibility with the current state of the technologies. And so we can combine different digital signatures with the college electric card in order to have legacy compatibility. In the paper, this is addressed. This is the general architecture that is explained in the paper as a transition into this, let's say, DLT quantum safe ecosystem. And we can go further in order to leverage this kind of approaches in order to have better procedures when we are dealing, for example, with digital evidence collection, in case we need to have proper authentication, authorization, accountability, and audit procedures, which is a must in the current information systems. So dealing with this approach in this paper and other approaches where we are replacing conventional cryptography by means of post-quantum cryptography, we can have at least a first transition into a quantum safe ecosystem. In the paper, they underline that the different approaches for digital signatures for post-quantum digital signatures, they have some advantages with respect to the other. For example, crystal dilithium is faster than the other. Falcon is better to reduce for efficiency. Sphinx guarantee long-term security. So it depends, depending on the risk you have in your system, you have to consider one of another approach. This is something that is very important to take into account. And risk analysis is critical when we are implementing new ways of addressing, for example, authentication. For example, in the case of EIDAS, very recently, a group of cryptographers, they have published a note on the implementation of EIDAS because the current implementation of EIDAS is not considering in a proper way the quantum minus. So in that paper, they analyze that it's necessary to conduct a proper transition from conventional cryptography in order to have privacy protection and quantum and protection against quantum threats. It's very difficult to have privacy protection. Also, take into account that actually in the EIDAS proposal, privacy protection is not properly addressed. There are some kind of limitation, very critical limitation. But if we go to the quantum threat scenario, these shortcomings are even more critical. Okay, so in the paper, they underline that it's necessary to have for example, lattice-based anonymous credentials. Based on NIST proposal, we need to go further in order to have not only post-quantum cryptography, but privacy-respectful post-quantum cryptography. There are some works still. We are in the infancy of the proper implementation of this post-quantum this privacy-respectful post-quantum cryptography. But for example, IBM has proposed the laser library in order to have lattice-based zero knowledge and SUSIM proof for quantum safe privacy. We need proper implementation of zero knowledge. The proper implementation of zero knowledge is a challenge right now. Still is a challenge. We have solution, but still is a challenge. It's even more challenging in the case of the post-quantum area, post-quantum menace, sorry, the quantum menace, sorry. So this is something to be properly taken into account. And any kind of solution we can address should be compatible, for example, with the different standards that are proposed in order to have decentralized identifier. This is a paper where there is a formal specification related to decentralized identities. Is one of the few formalization efforts, and without the formalization effort, it's not possible to have a proper standard. So this paper is very interesting, and the work we should conduct in order to have a quantum readiness in the identity management and by extension in distributed ledger technology is to consider this formalization approach in order to be coherent with the underpinnings of decentralized identity management. And this effort should be conducted according to the effort and the progress in the implementation of post-quantum primitives. So this is something that should be taken into account. In this transition, for example, in the case of the project QB, what we are dealing is with the proper implementation post-quantum cryptography inside OpenSSL and SSS, which are the two major frameworks that are used in operating systems and browsers. This is more a summary of all the effort we are conducting in those projects in order to have accessible and usable these new primitives and to be deployed in a fast and efficient way. This is the effort we are conducting in Qubit. This is an addition on what I have just commented. Nothing new. I'm going to conclude and try to conclude my summary. And the other effort we are conducted in our group is very related to how we can properly analyze that the information we are extracting from an end device is trustworthy. In terms of DLT, this is a requirement in order to have the proper implementation for oracles. If we are putting information inside a blockchain of a DLT, but we are not sure about the reliability, the trustworthiness of this piece of data, we are going to have a problem, because we for sure nobody can modify the information we have in the DLT. It is possible to modify it, but it's difficult to modify it. But we need to be sure that the information we are storing onto the blockchain is of quality. For such a goal, for example, we can leverage what is called remote attestation. We can verify that the device that executing code and extracting information from an environment is not tampered. It's not being victim of some modification of some type of attack. So through remote attestation, we can verify that edge points are trustworthy. And but if we do so in remote attestation, what we do is to compute the digital signature of source code and data if this required. The digital signature should be quantum resistant, as I told you before. So we need to implement the lithium, spins, wherever we consider. And then we need to construct a confidential and authenticated channel. For such a goal, again, we need to leverage post-quantum cryptography. So this is something we are addressing in this paper. We are analyzing first the different risks we have in our system, and we are implementing the concrete software libraries in order to conduct first remote attestation and then to construct the confidential and authenticated channel according to a quantum threat attack model. And all the information we are obtaining in this ecosystem for auditing and accountability is implementing upon DLT. Okay, so just to conclude, the different approaches I have tried to underline about the challenges, the different efforts that are already known, the different contributions are very dependent in the global legal and normative framework I described at the very beginning. But in the case of DLT, are very connected to the proper implementation to the General Data Protection Regulation, the proper implementation of the Digital Services Act, and the proper implementation of the Digital Markets Act. This proper implementation requires to be very careful about the underpinnings of the European Artificial Intelligence Act, the Data and Governance Act, and the Data Act. And I forgot to include here something that is very critical in this very context, which is the implementation of the Cyber Resilience Act, which demands the change of a lot of different normatives and standards. More than 40 different standards should be properly modified in order to be coherent with the demands that are imposed by the global EU cybersecurity and data protection approach. And this is all from my side. If there is some question and I'm able to answer them,
David, thank you so much. I'm almost afraid to ask a question because it will sound stupid because this was so, broad and technical. And I would love for you to answer one or two of the questions that have been in the chat. But maybe just from my side to understand, do you think the quantum computing is a real threat right now, or are we still like years or decades away from this being a real threat? Or is it something that current blockchain applications, current blockchain companies already need to think about when they're creating the projects? Could you
Okay.
comment on that?
Okay. I think one years and a half from now, last year, I think, there was a paper published by Peter Goodman from Australia, underlining that somehow the quantum threat was like the headlamp threat, something that everybody is talking about, but still is not there. We are looking for the threat. We are investing a lot of resources, a lot of time, a lot of money and time on that, but the concrete threat is not there. This is true. Still, according to the level of maturity, is not going to be less than 1 decade in order to have a proper implementation of a quantum computer. Maybe there is a change. These kind of things can change suddenly, overnight, but right now it's not a very concrete threat. But all the big companies, because of this requirement by the legislation and the certification normatives, they are implemented. They are already implemented the post-quantum primitives inside their products. Cisco is implemented then. In Signal, we have post-quantum cryptography, which you can find implementation even in Mozilla. So, yeah, still is not actual and critical threat, but is in order to be prepared when the threat is would be there, we need to do the transition. Otherwise, the transition could be almost impossible to replace all the different software and hardware implementation. Once the threat is over there, it will be impossible. So that's the reason why we need to start planning about the transition. And there is another thing very important. The effort in order to have, for example, hardware acceleration that is able to implement post-quantum cryptography is very, you can obtain also benefit from there in order to implement artificial intelligence procedure. So it's not just to put a lot of resources without having the threat over there. It's that you are improving your hardware and your software in order to have better functionality and more and safer solution. So yeah, we need to go into it. Otherwise, we could have a problem, and it's a way to improve our software and hardware products.
Thank you, David. So there are a few questions that are fairly technical, for me, but I wonder if you would want to answer some of the questions in the chat. We have maybe just a few minutes, but do you want me to read them, or you prefer to look at them yourself?
Okay. No, for example, in the context of short algorithm, how do you quantify the timeline for quantum computers to realistically break elliptic curves, and what factor might accelerate or delay this threat becoming practical? I use at the very beginning of the presentation the paper by Mosca. They have an estimation about the time. Let me show the timeline where we can have a threat. Was here. Sorry, because I don't know. It's here. Okay. So as you can see here, there is still a timeline where we cannot consider that a short algorithm is properly implemented in order to break elliptic curve. Not less than 10 years. Being optimistic. So still there is a lot of work to be done in order to have a proper implementation of short algorithm. It is possible to have a breakthrough, and it could be possible, for example, taking into account the different approaches using superconducting or ion trap approaches, it could be possible. But also take into account that there is a lot of effort about high-performance computing. High-performance computing is evolving in such a way that exhaustive search of information, which is the underlying need in order to break a cryptographic key, can be tackled in a faster way. So we are all the time thinking about just about quantum computing, but take into account that we have very powerful, very powerful high-performance computing. So maybe the problem is coming from there. Actually, a lot of quantum computers are mainly simulated by high-performance computer. So it could be a breakthrough, some kind of contribution, detecting that, for example, it's easier to factorize big numbers using another algorithm that maybe is not quantum, but it makes possible to reduce the computational cost to extract a cryptography, a private key from the corresponding public key. So it could be possible. This is, I don't know if the answer is okay.
Thank you so much.
And then also, quantum computing. Regarding the different consensus algorithms, and there are specific consensus algorithms that are quantum resistant. If you go into the details, for such a goal, it's very convenient, for example, to review all the different contributions by Ageloki Ayas. He has a very set of high impact work about the governance implication of adopting the different consensus protocols, and also the works by Kachin. They are dealing with that, how we can construct distributed consensus in asynchronous systems to be robust against quantum threats. And to take into account that the proof of work, for example, is very based on the capability of computing, of identifying hash collisions. If you have quantum safe hash, it means that the protocol, it would be secure. But this is something that should be properly analyzed and conceptualized. Okay, so regarding that, there are different approaches. I don't know, do we have more time? Because
thank you. I would say maybe one last question, and if that's possible, if someone wants to continue, having conversation with you over email, or if you're willing to share your contact details, okay. Potentially also the presentation, if we can later on share it with the participants of the blockchain week.
Okay. To be contacted, but I will share with you my contact details. Yeah. Okay. I can answer the last question about the CBDCs. Yeah, there is a risk about adopting DLT technologies. Actually, for example, take into account the approach from Germany. They are not okay about adopting DLT without having a certified product. And this is something that is now under consideration at the European level. How we can have a qualified ledger service, which require to be certified according to the common criteria standard, for example. So this is something that still is pending, and a lot of effort should be conducted. What can you do in that cases? You can analyze the risk you are analyzing, and you are trying, and you will try to control the level of risk you can assume. This is the only one thing you can do. But for sure, it could be a problem in plenty of scenarios to use DLT technologies, even without a quantum computer. This is a risk. Yeah, it's clear.
David, thank you so much for the presentation and for answering those questions. Thank you also to the audience for being here for this session. we will, of course, share the presentation with the audience, if that's fine with you, David. And I would like to invite the audience to join us for another session of the Digital Blockchain Week, which will look at the social impact, financial inclusion and transparency, climate action, and related topics. We will start in about an hour. So, David, thank you so much. And to the audience, enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope we will see you shortly. Thank you.
It has been a pleasure. It has been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.